episode of Limit Break Radio is made possible by our generous Patreon donors, including Toki Anikawa of Sargentanus, Mello Targaryen of Fairy, Betty White of Hyperion. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/limitbreakradio. Breaking news! Fast Talker here reporting outside the Hall of Flames. It seems that the Oldon Syndicate has just released a new policy for their armed forces. It appears that all male cat girls, female dick giants, and potatoes have been relieved from active duty and banned from enlisting in the Immortal Flames. A press release stated, quote, "In order to maintain a distraction-free militia, all men, Kote, Femro, and Potato shall be removed from active duty." When questioned, a high-ranking official who did not wish to be named state, quote, "You know, in shower locker room confrontations, you see the water glistening off a large, throbbing Mithra Fudacock, and you can't get that image out of your head the rest of the day. Of course it's going to affect your performance on the battlefield. We are just taking a proactive step to prevent a catastrophe. Plus, they aren't as strong as a normal male." We further inquired about the removal of all Lalafell, and they responded, "Oh, well, given their small stature and weak bones, they wouldn't be of much use either. We figured we'd ship them out on the same boat, save time and effort." We responded with facts indicating that on the battlefield, one's cunning and equipment has a much greater effect on combat than racial attributes, but the official declined to comment. Gridania has also expressed interest in adopting a similar policy, stating, quote, "The elementals share a similar viewpoint. When we contacted the elementals, they declined to comment. More on this story as it develops."
Live from Eorzea.
Limit Break. With your hosts, Nero.
Now behold the horror you have wrought.
Kahlo.
I said don't take your clothes off.
Juxtaposition.
I don't get it.
Ascalia.
Holy shit, totally forgot about him.
And Nika.
Oh my god.
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio, episode 152. Glad to have everyone with us. Twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio is where you can find us live each and every single Sunday. That's here at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. Glad to have you along. If you're listening live and you want to hear maybe some older shows, you can find those over at limitbreakradio.com. Full archive of our shows going back all the way to 2006 when this show started for Final Fantasy XI. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate having you along. Let's kick it on over to our Eorzean studios. You can join us if you want in the Goblet 5th Ward plot number 30. That's on the Sargentanus server. Joining me, of course, is my crew, Nika, Juxta, Kahlo. What's up?
You almost started the checkpoint thing there, didn't you?
Almost.
You almost did. I heard it.
Almost.
I heard it.
All of these different scripts are starting to get mixed up in my head.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know, right? But the thing is like you noticed when we were in Vegas that on the ins and outs that I went into autopilot mode.
Sure did.
That's only from being able to do it for a year, because you noticed that I wasn't able to do that out at E3.
I remember. I do, yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of advantages to be able to put yourself on autopilot and just go.
Just go.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Appreciate having you along. We are, by the way, back from Las Vegas. If you didn't hear, the Checkpoint
FanFest happened. It's all over.
The Checkpoint Radio, the Checkpoint Radio crew got invited out to the opening of the esports arena at the Luxor in Las Vegas. We were out there and had a great time, and want to thank the Luxor and Allied Esports and Esports Arena for having us out. And if you want to hear that episode, that will be here live on the channel following today's Limit Break Radio starting at 6 p.m. So stick around. That's here live at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. We had a great time. And I mean, like, dude, we did like double the amount of work that we normally do.
Oh my god, it was so much fun though. Like to be completely honest honest, it was so much fun out there. And please stick around and listen to this show. As far as like especially live shows go, this one honestly is probably one of the most legit things we've done.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for joining us. We want to hear from you. We had a ton of calls last week about Eureka. We want to hear more about it. 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord if you want to give us a call on Discord. But we want to hear from you. Are you still doing Eureka? Are you still engaged with it? Because I'll tell you what, this week I have not been anywhere near a Final Fantasy XIV.
Was that by choice or because you've had other stuff to do?
Oh, tons of other stuff to do.
Yeah, I'd like to know if there's anybody out there who hated on it the first day, and even now after all this new information, everyone's really dove into it, because it feels like a lot of people have sort of changed their mind at least a little bit. Is there anybody out there who still adamantly hates this?
Well, and I think that, after a week, that's the real test of content.
Yeah,
because,
I'd say so.
A week or two out, if you're now bored with it, or if you've been if 90% of the community has been able to poop sock what they want out of it, is that indicative of a good system? And I mean, again, I think that there was a lot of, good stuff that was started in Eureka, but, we want to see if that's going to still be interesting in 2 weeks, in 6 weeks, in 8 weeks, because that's how long content has to sustain a community in a game like this. So we want to hear from you. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. So real quick before we get into FF14 news, a couple of things that we wanted to mention. Patreon.com/limitbreakradio is how this show is supported. The latest round of postcards from Eorzea have gone out, and they featured me.
You should have it by now. I just saw mine on the counter when I left home this morning.
Yeah, it showed up when we were in Vegas. So, a $20 donation is what gets those. They're super fun. That's over at patreon.com/limitbreakradio. We've also been talking for a while about our new show that will replace Final Encountercast, the Let's Be Real podcast. And we've kind of been considering a couple of things in regards to that. The way that Final Encountercast first ended up becoming a thing was because of your support over at patreon.com/limitbreakradio. And now, we kept that show going for 100 episodes, despite wherever the total was at over at our Patreon account. And we've been thinking about we saw it through to 100 episodes, and I think that we need something to motivate you guys to get back involved with the Patreon. And we've had a couple of people reaching out saying how much they're looking forward to the Let's Be Real podcast. We've certainly been hearing internally and from our own fan base that people are very excited to hear the show. The thing is that I think that we're going to have to push that Patreon total up a little bit more before we unlock the Let's Be Real podcast.
Well, if you remember, originally I think at $1,300 was when we said we were going to launch our general gaming podcast, as it was referred to back then.
Right.
And
our monthly one.
Right, our monthly one. And then at $2,000 is when we were going to make it weekly. And we had actually reached that so quickly that it went basically right into being produced as a weekly show. And we stayed above that for quite a while. And when we first started to taper off and fall under that, Checkpoint had started, and Checkpoint that early was kind of dependent on FEC. We were still getting into the groove of how to program that show and what type of effort and research went into it. And we kind of tested out a lot of topics and news items on FEC first, but Checkpoint has kind of outgrown that and is pretty sufficient on its own, but obviously still takes quite a bit of work. And Chris, you said today that our Patreon total is technically below even 1,300.
Yeah, it's at 1228. Last time I checked,
1282.
1282.
So if you look at the stretch goals, it says we would like to produce a whole new gaming show, gaming as a whole.
Yeah, right. So
I mean, that's how far below we are now.
Right. So here's the thing, and with FanFest coming up, we've got some expenses that we're going to have to take care of. We want to be able to go out to FanFest, and especially now with the esports arena that's at the Luxor, I think that we could probably throw a pretty badass after party out there. Okay?
It would make insert coins look like a kids party.
It really would. Yeah, it would make insert coins look like a ball pit in the middle of a fucking empty arena. All right, seriously, we really want to do this right, and we between our conversations out at Vegas this weekend, and it seems like that might actually be a pretty reasonable possibility. So we do need your help. This is a purely crowd-funded effort at Limit Break Radio. So patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. We could definitely use your support, and I definitely think we're gonna go and adjust some of these stretch goals. You're not far from being able to unlock the Let's Be Real podcast, but the thing is that we want to be able to make sure that is sustained and funded, and so that can only be done with your support over at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. We thank all of our long-term supporters over at Patreon. You guys have been amazing, and we really think that we've got something that's worth funding. So Patreon, again, patreon.com/Limit Break Radio is how that is done. All right. Also, something that I wanted to mention just before we get into the news as well is that while we were out in Vegas, we talked to a lot of different people,
a lot of important people,
and we have something that we're pretty excited to be able to share for Easter weekend. So we want to encourage all of you guys to tune in here at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio Easter Sunday, and we'll have a special presentation for you. We can't really tell you much about it, but it's definitely...
Well, we can, but we're not going to. Let's be clear. Let's be real. We're not going to tell you.
We aren't going to tell you, but we can't tell you. So,
is it news time yet?
No. Stop it.
Close.
Let's be real news.
Let's be really news.
Thanks for that. Make sure you tune in Easter Sunday, twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. It is definitely going to be an episode that you will not want to miss.
Limit Break Radio presents Simply Juxta with your host Juxtaposition, brought to you by #Praise Juxta #Praise Pazuzu.
Praise Pazuzu?
Juxtaposition.
The final boss of Eureka.
Yeah, I like the juxtaposition. What is that? That's horrific.
Yeah, they forgot the I.
Something else I'd like to add on top of that too, guys, is the following week. So 2 weeks from now, is that we're planning on we're returning to the Limit Break Radio trivia game.
Contest.
That's right, trivia contest, which means that you guys are going to have some chances to stump us with questions, but we might also have some new rules. But I have to get together with Kooky, see exactly what our prize packages are looking like. But if you guys want to earn some sweet swag or maybe even some potential cash shot pets or minions or whatnot, be on the lookout on our social media for that. We're going to get those details out as soon as we can so that you guys have plenty of time to prepare for that.
And that's in 2 weeks. Remember, 2 weeks.
Not next week.
Right. Next week, special surprise episode.
It's going to be great.
It is.
It's going to take like the whole episode, right?
And I promise it's not just a Nero doing a stupid voice.
Well, but it could be. What's wrong with my stupid voice?
I'm a dragon.
Well, you gotta make a voice.
I'm a dragon over here.
Come on, I do awesome voices, guys.
See, you're just talking your normal voice again. Can you actually give us a funny voice?
Well, is this a funny voice?
You're still talking your normal voice.
Oh.
Did you guys know that up at college, Nero actually did the voice for a Dark Knight character on a cartoon?
I did.
Wait, did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he really did.
His name was Dark Knight. I'm not even fucking joking.
That's cool.
Was it Batman?
No, it wasn't. You can find that on YouTube if you look hard enough.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's still out there. I found it while I was really, really drunk.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, yeah, so that's what we've got coming up in the next couple of weeks here on Limit Break Radio. All right, let's check out what's going on in FF14 news.
This is a Limit Breaking News Update.
All right, so this week in news, we don't have any like real official Square Enix or Lodestone news, but a unique story from Reddit of all places. I know, just hear me out here. Did come across our radar. Now, normally we only bring Reddit threads onto the show when we need to showcase a bit of drama or spice things up. Motherfucker.
Hashtag Juxta on Repodcast. Hashtag Mutanero.
Mutanero.
Wait,
mutate yourself.
No, that doesn't work. It doesn't work like that.
He wants to mutate a Nero?
Just
okay.
Thanks, Frumpy. No, yeah, muting a Nero doesn't work through donations.
Mute.
Sorry,
I gotcha. I thought he said mutate.
It said mutate Nero.
Yeah. Mutate Nero.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway,
praise Juxta.
The most you get is that I'm going to leave the room and refill my drink, and so it's going to sound like I'm muted for a few minutes, but I'm actually not. So bye-bye.
Okay, here we go. So anyway, story from Reddit. Now this story actually shines some light on a real problem that PvP has that is a direct result of Square Enix and has yet to be addressed in any meaningful way. So I'm gonna go ahead and just read the OP's post here. It's not too long, but
thanks, motherboard.
Yeah, right? We're going to motherboard it. Here we go. So the OP says, sorry for posting this since I usually don't feel the need to cry to others, but I really need someone to talk to. This is my first season ever getting into the feast since I wanted to give grinding for the new mount a try, but learned that players there were much more cruel than the stories I've been hearing.
Well, yeah, it's PvP. People are going to kill you.
I've been queuing up as a healer for Feast, studying videos, reading up on guides as much as I can, but I still can't perform with the top tier players. Okay, that happens. Practice makes perfect. Just earlier today, though, I was matched with 7 high-ranking players and couldn't keep up with the healing even when bursting out all of my cooldowns. Suddenly, my entire team stopped doing anything. Then the other team stopped doing anything and decided all to gather around me, marked me with ignore 1, and laughed at me while spamming good job. All 7 players did this for the remaining 4 minutes of the match. I know players tend to disconnect or generally throw matches to get out faster, but never in my life have I been treated as such absolute garbage. It was like something only the most paranoid person could think of. I spent the rest of my day crying to myself and feeling like a worthless piece of trash, even going to bed early just to make the day end. What makes all of this worse is knowing one of the people involved was a streamer, so I know they were putting on a show for their fans. Nobody deserves to be treated this way. I can't even bring myself to attempt the feast anymore in fear of getting these people again and just having this all repeated once more. Now, I'm not really sure exactly what we were planning on doing with this when I first read that, but what was interesting was the following comment. The very first one at the top was actually a comment by the Bard who was on the opposing side of the team. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because they actually wrote quite a bit, but I do want to read the first few paragraphs here and talk about a few of the things that they did mention. So they addressed the OP and said, I was the Bard on the opposing team, and there seems to be a huge misunderstanding here. Please read through all of my posts to understand how crazy this is, how we saw 2 completely different things happening. Now, until I randomly read your post here before going to bed, what I thought happened during that game was that the healer of my opposing team, you, got some connection troubles, and that out of respect, your team stopped playing to force my team to stop playing as well, for a fair game until you would be back. They actually also provided a screenshot of said match with that the OP's character just standing there, and some of the things that they mentioned was that I guess at high rank play in the feast that this is something that teams actually do out of respect, is if someone DCs or seems like they're DCing, both teams just stop playing and wait for the other person to come back in hopes that the match can continue and basically stay fair, right? One of the things they point out is that their team can't see the other's icons, so they can't really speak to whether or not there was the ignore mark on them, but on his screenshot, there was the attack one, but they were the healer, so of course they would be focusing them. Something else they mention is that in PvP, hello spam isn't used to
greet people,
to greet people or to make fun of them. It's actually used as a way to communicate, since you know Square Enix took out the chat function.
Right.
So spamming the hello emote is actually a way that top PvPers communicate to each other, like, we're ready to burst now. On your signal, start the countdown. Right.
Hello.
Over and over and over again.
That's what I do. Over and over and over again.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I do when I'm about to jizz. So,
wow. Okay. Anyway, throughout the whole thing.
Hello. Okay.
Throughout the whole thing, the commenter was honestly extremely polite, very courteous, invited the OP to join a Discord for new Feast members, you know, really wanted them to come back, and said that in looking at the OP's screenshot, it does seem like maybe her team was trying to bully her. They did have the ignore one and were spamming some emotes and whatnot. But overall, I think the reason that I wanted to talk about this was how simply all of this could have been ignored, or all this could have been completely avoided, resolved if the OP, when first coming in, had a way of saying, hey guys, by the way, I'm new, I have been watching videos, reading guides, blah 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 blah, stuff like that, but you know, be patient with me, because I think we've all done that before, in whether they're new raids, new dungeons, or whatnot, and people are usually pretty accommodating to that, so long as, you know, you're forthright with the fact that, hey, I might not be able to stay up to your guys' kinds of speed, right? So I guess my question to you guys is this something that Square Enix should finally start to address? Because Nero, on a lot of shows, you know, they've been coming out with all these different PvP changes. They've really been trying to push the Feast as like next level esports type stuff, right? But
I can't wait to watch them in the Luxor.
Yeah, right.
But you still can't chat with your team?
See, here's what I find interesting about this is that you've got two completely different perspectives, and both of them on their face seem pretty valid. Although I do kind of think that maybe the second guy is backpedaling a little bit just to try to save face and save his ass, right?
Well,
because
if he was on the actual player's team, I would agree with you, but he was on the opposing team, so there's no way he would know exactly what was happening.
Yeah, in his screenshot, it also shows that people weren't gathered around the healer like cheering. There were two of them that were sitting down over to the side. Somebody else was like over by some box. They definitely weren't gathered in a circle in any way.
It was his actual team that was probably bullying him, and that they had the attack icon because they were ready to actually play.
But at the same time, this is you know, I feel like this is someone who's taking things a little bit too seriously and a little bit too much to heart.
I don't know. I feel like if I was standing there and 7 people started like picking on me and you couldn't even say anything, like, I would feel like shit.
I've had people calling up and trashing on my fucking parse for 3-4 episodes now. Come on, grow a little bit of thick skin here.
Here's my question for you, Nero. The OP didn't give any names or anything like that, so what would this bard have to save face from?
I mean, yeah, maybe.
And had there not been a screenshot, I might have even said, oh, this is just someone, I don't know, faking it to make them feel better or just whatever. But the fact that they actually had a screenshot of the match, I think, you know, proves the validity there.
Why did they have a screenshot? That was weird. Why would you screenshot that?
The original poster said it was, he knew that it was a popular streamer, so he could have got the screenshot from the stream.
Well, something else the commenter said as well in regards to taking the picture was that they were actually going to take that picture and share it with one of their Discords, because, you know, a lot of people say that PvPers are mean and rude and cruel, and they actually wanted to use this as an example of, look, guys, I was in a match, and when someone was disconnecting, both teams stopped playing to let them come back, to be fair to each other.
Really?
Yeah.
I was going to say that
you would screenshot that. That's a screenshot worthy. I guess.
No, it's to prove it, because otherwise, like, no, I never see that happen. What are you talking about?
Well, but I mean, like, isn't that a strange thing to screenshot? Like, how would you, if this was an innocuous event, and if it wasn't actually harassment, right? Why would you screenshot it? Why would you even think twice about it?
Because they're on the other team and they don't realize the other team's harassing them. They think the other team was waiting for them to come back.
Why even screenshot it?
He wanted to use it as an example to his friends who think that the feast is full.
That is making up context. You're just making up
this
context.
Is what they said. This is what I'm saying they said. I'm not trying to come up with an answer. This is what the commenter said.
It is possible if you are very active in feast groups and then people are like, I quit feast because everyone's a jerk. You'd be like, no, look, I was just in a match where people were really nice.
And it just so happens that the fucking match that you take a screenshot of is the one that blows up on Reddit. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem to add up to me.
This feels nice. Nika's being optimistic again, and Nero's back to being a cynic. Finally, there's balance.
I mean, like, why? If it's no big deal, why even bother take a screenshot of it? And if it happens all the time,
for Dark Knight with 1952 plus DPS for normal mega for invite.
I don't think it was 1950. That's a little high for a Nero.
It's 1951.
Well, he wants more than that.
One off.
Yeah, okay.
That's all right.
So you're not good enough.
But yeah, it seems like something about this doesn't seem to add up. Like, I think that this might be the streamer. The Bard is the streamer, and the streamer is trying to save face because he doesn't want to jeopardize his Twitch account, and he doesn't want to jeopardize his FF14 account.
The streamer was on the OP's team. This person was on the opposite team, so it couldn't be the streamer.
I don't know if they mentioned that.
How do you know that?
No, because they said they're putting on a show for their stream because their party was bullying me. Like, he said my party was standing around and bullying me and I know that they were putting on a show for their stream. So I took that to mean that the streamer was on their team and was the one who. That's
still kind of an assumption. I wouldn't go that far
because I don't feel like I specifically got that the streamer was on one team or the other.
Right. It just to me, it just said that there was a streamer involved in the incident. And if I had to guess, I would think that the streamer is the fucking Bard, and the Bard is trying to save his own ass.
Yeah, all it says is what makes this worse is knowing one of the people involved was a streamer. So that just means that one of those 7 people was a streamer, and they probably just automatically assumed, well, that makes sense. If someone's streaming this, they want to put on a show.
Yeah.
No, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe this isn't as cut and dry as I thought it was, and maybe there's more information here somewhere. I don't remember seeing a link anywhere, so I don't know if the stream was trying to do it for necessarily publicity or anything like that. But I still think that Square Enix.
Please remove all names for confidentiality. Don't mention any 1951 DPS.
I think you already can't see names in the feast. It just comes up as their class, right?
You can see after the match ends, though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like, my takeaway from all this is Final Fantasy 14 players are all a bunch of Care Bears, because why the fuck would you stop attacking if someone disconnects? Like, clearly you're going to get the win when you're down a member.
Use that power play,
you fucking
bitch.
Take that win.
Do you have any idea how awesome it is when you see like a lever or a thrower in like an Overwatch match?
You're like, all right, twice as hard. Push that advantage.
That's free SR right there, man.
Yeah, you definitely don't pass that up. There's a mount at stake, for crying out loud.
So wait. What happens if they don't come back? Do you just let the match count down? Whoever was winning at that point just wins?
Oh, what? Oh, that's terrible.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna start fake disconnecting whenever I'm like, we have an advantage. Be like, oh, I'm disconnecting now. Better not reconnect for 4 minutes, and we get the win. Easy. Fucking Care Bears.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's like you've never played an online game before.
I mean, that makes sense, but we don't really have any kind of insight into what the high level PvP is like. Like, for all, like, that, it seems like
it's not
there's
cutthroat,
a small,
that's for sure.
Yeah, it seems like there's a small community of people at the high level of feats that actually like to play fair tournament matches. So those are the people who are acting this way. Clearly,
you know what, Nika? There's an old saying: "All's fair in love and war, and the feast."
Really, that's the saying?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
Yeah, positive.
Man, when I'm playing Hearthstone, like if I start losing, I just take as long as I possibly can for that off chance that they start disconnecting. And as soon as I see them roping, I pick up the pace real quick, take 2 turns in a row. They don't take a single one. Boom, in the lead again.
Those were always my favorite matches when I did play Hearthstone, like at work and stuff. When I would see people disconnect, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Going back to the actual topic here, I know I've mentioned this a couple times before that I played Feast for a few times and was able to communicate. And as soon as they cut out the communicate, I stopped playing because now I cannot go in and tell people like I'm learning. What do I do? How do I do? Like I'm confused.
Well, the fact that they use hello spam to let you know, all right, I'm ready to burst now, so start your countdown. Like that is so ineffective.
We should be able to say that in text. It is dumb, and I feel like it's a very intimidating now going in knowing that I cannot communicate. So I have quit it altogether.
Yeah, they probably lost just as many people because now that they feel that communication is ineffective as they feared they were losing from people being toxic through the chat.
Which doesn't even make sense because if people are toxic in chat and being bullied, then you have clear grounds to report them and get them banned from the game.
Yeah, you have actual proof and screenshots now. Like this clearly is a situation where you could try to report your team for bullying, but the other team thought that they were just communicating. So it's just stupid.
This muddies the water.
Realizes this, it does.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go to our phone lines and talk to Satori. What's going on, Satori?
Hey, is Pazuzu up?
I don't know.
Killed him.
Panini's been eaten.
Jeez.
No, but I'm asking, is he up?
We just killed him.
You guys have been going to the race and killing him?
I don't know what's going on.
The panini and the panera has been eaten.
No, I'm you know what? Never mind.
What are you doing? Are you doing a bit? Is this a bit that you're because no one knows what the fuck you're doing?
We're making Eureka jokes because that's exactly what I was doing.
Oh, he just left.
No. What?
All right, good, because I was gonna be like dropping. Was that supposed to be a Eureka joke?
Well, because the thing is that every 5 seconds somebody logs into Eureka saying, "Is Pazuzu up yet?" Because he's the final boss that you need for your relic upgrade.
Oh.
So and then people have come up with so many names for him. They call him Pant Zuzu. They call him Panini. They call him Pazuzuz. Like there's so many names.
Yeah.
Gales aren't up, you jackass. Bed joke. # praise Juxta.
So that's why I said the Panini's been eaten because everyone calls him Panini. Clearly, he didn't get the joke, but.
Sorry,
anyway.
We haven't been to the final boss for our relic yet.
If Nika out jokes you, then you lose. Sorry.
Ouch. If Nika's the only one who gets your joke, yeah.
Well, I'm really the only one that's been doing Eureka, and I'm the one that probably hates it the most, which is funny.
Wow. Yeah, Nika. I don't know what to tell you there.
Nika,
I got my relic, so that's all. I'm not complaining.
You're not allowed to hate the content, Nika. You like the game.
So let's talk about this walk that Yoshi has gone on.
Yeah. So apparently
he did a walkabout. Apparently,
a walk?
This is something he actually does quite often. I guess whenever he streams like personally on Niconico, he calls them Yoshi walks, and that's sort of when he visits different servers and talks to people and does stuff like that. And he actually revealed some interesting things about the future of Eureka, as well as some other tidbits that we'll get to in a bit. But one of the goals of Eureka, he says, or the first goal of Eureka, we should say, was to reanimate what it feels like right after the launch of an MMO, which I think that he did pretty well, right?
Well, the first day, I would say not anymore.
Yeah, like I would say, out of the gate, it was pretty close. But then,
after 3 days, everybody had every NM down to a science, and and I really don't think again that they ever thought that this is what would happen. Just like when Hunts came out, there's no way this NM train is what was intended for this.
Okay,
absolutely not.
Probably not. But one of the things that I think is interesting is on last week's show, that's one of the things that we said to you, Nika, because you're like, oh well, if this is all it's going to be just the whole time, it's blah 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 blah, and we're like, this is also just be the first step, and what they plan on doing with each subsequent edition of Eureka is planning to expand it a little bit more. And you seem to poo-poo that pretty hard because they've never done anything like that ever before.
Yeah, and I'm still doubtful even after reading this.
Even after reading this, when he literally says
so vague.
When he literally says that they're gonna do that?
Okay, let's just keep going.
All right, so first of all, Eureka will get an update in patch 4.3x. So that's the next patch. You know, some of us were considering, like, are we not going to get it for, like, every other patch maybe, or every half patch?
We're definitely going to get one every patch.
It seems like that's at least what they may be aiming for. Yeah, probably 4.35, and assuming whatever it was that delayed Eureka to this point, they don't have to worry about similar problems popping up and we don't continue to get it backed up. Honestly, I will be amazed if this actually comes out at least at 4.35 and isn't delayed.
I think it's going to be 4.35, 4.45, 4.55.
That would be fine.
Hold on. It's going to get an update in 4.3x. What are they going to update about it? Just like mechanics or something?
No, they're going to add a new zone with a new boss.
Yep, it's the very next comment. The next Eureka area, and the word will replace whatever Animos is, will have a few new functions and gameplay elements added to it, and he did hint at something that you can do solo as well.
Something you can do solo, but you can also just plow over it with a train. Right?
Well, and I mean, obviously, see, now here's what I'm worried about is early on, as we've been going, prepping for Eureka, that's one of the things that they've mentioned is that you'll be able to both group up for it and you'll be able to enter it solo. And obviously, as it stands now, it's very difficult to do anything effectively all by yourself. So I don't know if I should believe that going into this next area, if we will finally get the ability or the tools that we need in order to effectively do something solo, like in their grand scheme, if the solo part had always sort of like waited or been sort of slated for the second stage, or if we're going to see basically the exact same kind of thing continue on. It's like, oh yeah, technically you can fight stuff solo.
The word something is very, very vague, because technically now that I'm level 19, I can go in and I can farm anything that's like 17 and below solo and spawn NM solo if nobody else is plowing them over.
But would you be able to kill the NM by yourself?
The NM? No, but I could spawn the NM.
Do you still get XP from those mobs to where you could potentially farm your own?
If they're close enough to my level, I think so. And you could definitely farm protean crystals that way.
Yeah, that's what I was going to wonder.
But I don't know. That's obviously.
Why would you ever do that when
exactly the translator?
I mean, yes, that's fair, obviously. What do you guys think about this a few new functions and gameplay elements mean? Juxta, you were a little skeptical about that.
I mean, it has to be something like. My question is, are they just going to abandon the elemental wheel?
No. I think the elemental wheel is going to stay and go forward. Yeah.
So then the next question is, like, are they going to add more levels to your elemental level?
This is exactly what I think is going to happen. Is that there's going to be a new zone. We're going to get 10 levels maybe. So we're at 20 now. We'll get 21 to 30. And it's going to be a new zone and there's going to be a new boss. Because as I had mentioned to some people online before, Pazuzu is one of the 4 fiends from Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. So my guess is there's going to be 3 more updates with a final boss for each relic final stage. That's going to be one of the 4 fiends from Mystic Quest. And that is going to be there, one for each element. So we know Pazuzu is Gales because he only spawns during the wind, the Gales. So the other ones are going to be like, that's going to be the element that matters in the next zone. We're going to get the next 9 levels. There's not going to be much that changes in terms of the core element of gameplay. We're definitely going to level up 9 levels. We're not going to be able to mount until we finish the quest in there. We're not going to be, and then we're going to get like a Magicite 1 or 2 times that's going to upgrade us. And there's going to be more NMs kind of the same way that there is. Now, they could add another mechanic on top of that, but I think that the base is going to be the same, just kind of in a new zone, higher level.
All right, so for first question that I have, and this actually that assumes quite a bit, Nika. A Nero, if they're gonna have all 4 Mystic Quest bosses, and if they can keep to a patch schedule of 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5 would be our last one, then that would sort of bring us to the end of the expansion. And earlier on, Aniro, you had theorized that sort of the way that they've gone about development, the way that they're stretching things out, is that we might be looking at a longer patch cycle. Maybe seeing like a 0.6 or a 0.7 through Stormblood instead of the usual 0.5, and then that's the end of it.
I don't think so. I mean, we're coming up on FanFest pretty quick.
Yeah.
And they always announce a new expansion at FanFest, and then it's like usually 6 months after that we get hit with the expansion. I don't see it. I don't see us getting a 0.7.
And we might get like 4.51 6.54,
like they did in the last
4.541. Like they might drag the shit. Yeah, they might drag the shit out of 4.5, but I don't think we're gonna get a 0.6.
All right, see now, well, here's my hope, at least for the second step of Eureka here, is that I would like to see some more complicated spawn mechanics.
Yes,
and agreed.
Right
now it's just kill X monsters during whatever the weather condition or day.
Yes, and they've added things like the Pazuzu feathers, which you need, which I think that if those items were used to spawn another tier of NMs that then you need to farm to be able to get items off of, that would also be a very interesting way to do it.
It would be kind of cool because, there's some people now that have like so many Pazuzu feathers more than they even have relics. Now, if you have to take that into the next area, that would keep Pazuzu relevant for those people who are still trying to get their first level of relic, because you would then need those feathers to spawn something in the next zone. That would be smart.
Yeah.
But will they do that? Probably not.
Well, see, I think that a Nero here, he's onto something a little bit more than what you are, Nika, because the fact that they said new functions and gameplay elements and not just expanding what's already there. If we literally just go and they're like, hey, look, 10 more levels, there's your new function and gameplay elements, that doesn't quite line up. But if you're advancing or taking what's already there, such as the Pazuzu feathers, and you're opening up so it's a lot more complicated, so yes, more complicated spawn patterns, needing specific items, the fact that at the end of this relic stuff you only need one other specific item, which is the last boss, I don't know, I feel like that's
which only really need to kill once if you get max
gold,
credit.
Yeah, is kind of a little bit of a letdown, and I hope that they expand that quite further in the second area, and I'd like to see 3 or 4 different quote-unquote end bosses, or every NM having some type of special item that drops along with whatever the special crystals are that you have to get. Oh my god.
Right. But I also think that I mean, that's one interesting way that the system could end up changing. But another thing that the relic system is usually very good about is at some point they allow you to allocate your own stats onto the piece of gear. So I think it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to get something like that.
You don't think that 5 materia slots is their way of doing that?
No. I don't.
Because then where do you go from here, Nika? Like how do you continue to upgrade it if that's the end?
I mean,
just item level?
Yeah, and the stats on it.
No, I think it has to get more and more interesting as you go along.
Yeah.
Now, I would
hope so.
I don't think that your materia will carry over. So let's say you manage to meld all 5 of your.
Oh, it never does when you upgrade stuff with materia in it. Ever.
So I think
remove the materia and upgrade it.
I think that's the catch to still having those on there. Is that you still have to spend millions upon millions of gil.
Oh, it's not that much because you get 6s from lock boxes. Like materia is so cheap right now.
But still though, the notion that we could have a set of gear that we whose stats that we could specifically allocate, I think that is pretty appealing. And definitely, keeps me engaged and wants to, stay current on upgrading those gear pieces, because that was one of the things that people really heavily criticized last week about the system is, oh, well, these pieces are only, what, 355? And, yeah, they've got the extra materia slot on them, but what's really the point of doing this? Is the materia slot really the only point in trying to grind these pieces of gear out? And I think no. I think that the idea that they could become, either augmentable or customizable down the road, that possibility is fairly huge.
Oh, that absolutely. Not even just from like a balance standpoint or like a progressional standpoint, but as someone who's felt like there's no real reason to take pride in anything that you get outside of rating. If I rated, then yeah, probably it'd be cool to be like, oh, look at the stuff that I got. But the fact that Escalia was never very proud of it doesn't give me much hope there. But if 3 or 4 patches from now, I have my fully upgraded relic armor that started way back at the beginning of Eureka,
and it glows.
Whatever it does, it's gonna be. It's gonna be cool to run around in that armor, knowing that it's the same piece that I picked up from my JSE quest. How many months ago when I used to just be like, oh, that's cool. Too bad it sucks ass. last.
Yeah, because it was lower than the dungeon gear.
Yeah, exactly. And now at the end of an expansion, like it may not last, very far into whatever the next expansion is, but baby steps.
It'll last forever in our hearts.
And for once, Square Enix would have given me something that I can actually feel proud of accomplishing myself since the original Relic Titan fight.
Like, I want to agree with you, but the thing is that it gets stupidly easy to get crystals and upgrade once you hit 20 or 19.
Okay,
so
but
so I'm telling you, like, I finished my samurai weapon and instantly just spammed enough crystal trade-ins. All I'm waiting for my paladin relic now is my Pazuzu feathers.
Nika.
So thinking back on my previous relics, though, the grind for it, as boring as it was, I never ever wanted to do a second weapon. I said, fuck that shit. One grind is enough. I've already got 2 relics.
I never
wanted to do that.
Nika, at the end, this is stage 1 of your relic. Do you remember what the very first stage was for your relic back in 2.0? What was the very first stage?
Was it the fucking fate grind?
Does anybody remember that being super hard?
No.
The Atmas?
Not the Atmas. The Atmas wasn't the first stage, was it? The Atmas were later on.
Technically,
oh, if you turned in your one from the previous one, the Atmas was.
No, I'm talking about the 2.0 relic, so you couldn't turn in your previous one.
Technically, the first one in 2.0 was the Titan fight and all the stuff that came before that. Technically.
Okay, so besides the Titan fight, was all of that what you would call a grind?
Well, going to 3.0, 3.x, the first step for that relic was the Atma grind, and that was pretty soul-crushing at the start.
Unless you turned in your other one. So first, all I'm saying is that first stages compared to like when you had to do your books or when you had to do your light was not what I would consider grind heavy.
Right, but like you're saying at the end, so if the final update is in 4. Yeah, we're in 4, right? 4.55. If it's in 5.5, what's the point of having it? Like, I feel
that's 4 stages. If they're going to give it to us every single patch, that is 4 stages.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, like, the relic, people get the relic because it's the best weapon. It needs to be 5 eye levels higher than the top weapon, because otherwise, like, the reason I'm currently keeping up with Eureka as much as I'm bored of it is to, whenever it's finally upgraded or better than the raid gear, I'll have something to help me with raiding.
Which will be in 3.55 once the raid is done.
We'll have already finished the raids that matter, so what's the point in getting it? So,
and that is, I think, still for me,
to fight the ultimate fight.
Okay, I mean, maybe that will be what it's for, but I just feel like that there needs to be, like, right now, yeah, it's shitty. It's lower than the tome gear, but it has, by 5 levels, but it has that extra materia slots. I think at some point it needs to balance out with the tome gear, so that way I feel like it's actually helping.
I agree with that instead of being 5 eye levels below, it needs to be even, at least.
Equal eye level with the 5 materia slots, which makes it just a little bit better.
Right.
And that way it's actually helping me with raiding, and I have incentive to do Eureka over a mindless tome grind.
I think that'll happen either in this next update or the update after that.
And 0.3x, because
it's 3x or 4x.
Because it can't be better or equal to right now, because what will it do in 4.3x?
There you go. Because we're not gonna get something better than Mendacity Tomes next patch, right? So next patch.
That's true. So Eureka could pass it next patch.
Yes. See,
it's going to be equal next patch.
As long as if it's equal but has the materia slots, that edges it out. And I feel like as long as at some point in this progression I feel like it's useful for raiding before the very final patch, then it's useful. But I feel like if it doesn't equal or pass the tome gear or raid gear until the final patch, that's stupid.
All right.
So if somewhere in between, if the progression reaches that, I'll be happy. That's why I'm keeping up with it now, even though it's not quite better.
But that final boost can't happen until the final stretch of raiding has been put out, and the raid gear was the top gear for at least 1 patch cycle. That's been Square Enix's pattern going all the way back to 2.0.
Yeah, because if it's better than the raid gear before people are really getting the raid gear,
I don't think it should be better than the raid gear. It should be maybe in between, like, because like right now, because I mean, going with our current eye level, like our tome gear is 360 and our raid is 370. If this was able to get to 365,
that's fair.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, but see, it definitely has to happen after the current tome gear is out for a minute, because the fact that there's no gating mechanism to getting the relic gear, if it was better than tome gear, you wouldn't get any tome gear. So at least for a patch, yes, it has to be maybe just marginally under, so it's a good gateway into tome gear. And then next patch, when you can upgrade it, it gets you as just under whatever the new rating gear is going to be. I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah. Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Oaken of Balmong. What's going on, Oaken?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
What's happening?
Calling in to talk a little bit about Eureka.
Oh, you mean Final Fantasy 14?
Yeah, the current meta, whatnot. So my initial feedback on Eureka was I loved the old school feel of it. It was very refreshing to go back to kind of camp-based mob grinding. That was my first day. It was very refreshing. The second day, though, was kind of a dumpster fire in that...
Dawn of day 2.
Yeah, dawn of day 2. It was NA Zerg train. All of NA all of a sudden decided to mass on one spot with 70 to 80 people. Half of them are like AFK jerking off. I don't know what they're doing. And any type of challenge...
Excuse me, we call that red mage raising. Thank you very much.
Yes, meaningful contributions.
Thank you.
But I think as I leveled a little more and I got to level 15 or so, I was using the party finder to make groups that would do a hybrid of X grind plus the NMs. And that was fun. I got to 20 pretty quickly. I don't understand a lot of the complaining about the grind being brutal. It's really kind of reasonable, I think, for many types of players.
Yeah, it's not that bad now that you think about it.
If anything, I have concerns about the longevity of the content, specifically if they don't have any type of catch-up mechanic built into it. Because even today, I was helping a friend level on an alt. I was starting getting into level 1. It was harder to find people doing that 1 through 5 leveling progression, but it's not too bad yet.
Well, I think one of the things that had been talked about was Magia board level sync feature.
Yes, yeah, that was the next thing, and that was one of the big things that I was also worrying about, because since
could this be the new mechanic?
Well, you know, we compared how things are happening right now a lot to hunts with the whole train system, right? And even back with hunts, where you could even get left out of stuff because of zoning or lag or connection or whatever it is, after a few weeks when people were done doing it, you really had no chance of catching up. They said they're planning a level sync system so players who start late can catch up. Now, they're not talking about the level sync.
That was a mistranslation.
Yeah. So they said they're not talking about the level sync for NMs, but a level sync you can use anywhere. And it says this was a mistranslation. They rewatched the stream, and what they're actually talking about was a Magia board level sync, where your Magia board, or the amount of Magicites on your board, is also synced during Fates. And this is so you basically can't go back and Zerg NMs down into dying into like 10 seconds.
I am so surprised that this doesn't already exist, because like occasionally now, like the trains I've been in pretty much ignore the lowest 5 NMs, but occasionally they do because they still drop shit. So we make our way down there, we level sync to level 4, but I still have 5 Magicites, which I don't get until 17. So having that many Magicites, even though I'm level 4, is so broken. And like, I'm actually surprised that was such an oversight, because now like there's people who are like on the opposite end of the map who are like, oh, I really need that Emperor's Hairpin. I'm going to go for that Fate now because I didn't realize people were even spawning it because I'm just on the train. And you don't make it because things die so freaking fast.
Yeah.
And, like, that really surprises me that they're like, oh, this is going to be a new mechanic in the next zone. Like, are they going to retroactively add it to this zone too? I don't know.
They would have to.
Yeah, because otherwise you're going to get even more powerful in the next zone. But this only, for me, I think addresses half of the concern. All right, this makes it so that if you're a lower level and you're trying to get caught up, things don't die before you're able to kill them. That's fine. But how are they going to keep the first zone populated enough so that, you know, in a month from now, if somebody new comes in, or you get there with a different character, how are you supposed to farm as effectively as what people are doing now? Will you be able to? I mean, if you only have a party of maybe 6 or 7 people, is that going to be enough to effectively take on some of the NMs or level up through it?
I do think that the NM scale either based on how many people are in the area or how many people in the zone.
Okay, that's fine. That's what Fates
So I do think you can take out, like, some people I know. I was watching somebody who spawned a lower level one, and they said they got it to 90% solo until the train got there. So I do think it is possible for a low level group to kill those low level ones. I also think that either after 2 more updates, or maybe once the whole relic is out, they will then lower the amount of crystals. So right now you need like 800 crystals for that final relic set. They'll lower it to like they'll have it or something. So that way you don't need to farm as much.
The huge.
But I'm also hoping, like we were saying before, that they might add items or maybe use the Pazuzu feathers in this zone that will then keep it relevant, that you need to take that into the next zone. So that way it will keep bringing people back to the previous zones. I hope they do something like that.
Another one of the comments that they made after this that I actually really liked it and shows that maybe Square Enix is starting to learn something is that they know that if they make it too convenient, Eureka will just turn into another or the usual FF11. So they will need
14.
to fix
FF14.
Sorry, yes, FF14. This is already the new FF11. The usual FF14. So they will need to find a balance that's in between.
Yeah, well, and I mean, part of running an MMO is putting out content and seeing what your player base does with it. Whether or not NM trains were the intended way to be able to do the content or not, Square Enix now knows the way that people are going to be using and interacting with the content, and I think that they've got to adjust for that, which means, at least to me, that you need more complex or specific popping mechanics to be able to make that happen. That's what at least that's what works in my head, right? If it's an item, or if it's a you
have to drag
a condition, you know what I mean? Besides just kill stuff a type of mob over and over again, you know what I mean? Like, that to me gets that job done.
But to what extent? Because even if it's items, then you just have people who a whole party gathers them up, right? So you have a party of 8, everybody gets the item, and then you just call it into the zone. Hey, we're about to do 8 Pazizis, so everybody show up, and then they just spam all those down. I think.
Well, obviously it'll have a cooldown as how quickly you can spawn them.
Okay,
right.
that might also help too. But I mean, I think that they might even look into revisiting the idea of, if you're going to do drops, just a claim system.
No, I don't think his claim system would work, dude. A claim system can't work. What are you talking about?
Like if you have the item and you pop something, right? If it's your item, only your party attacks it.
No, I don't see that. Why would they do that?
If it's to keep the Pazuzu relevant, like say you need Pazuzu feathers. If one person can just go and get the Pazuzu feathers and then just spawn it for the entire zone, no one would go back to the old zone.
That's true.
If it was your party, you'd have to actually form a party, go and get the Pazuzu feathers yourself, and then go and choose, which NM you want to spawn with it, and that would be for your party.
Yeah, because I think the only thing about this, and unless, as you said, it was intended,
or wait a minute, hang on. What if a pop item is what you need to be able to queue the instance, and then you go and it's an instanced fight? That's kind of cool, actually.
What do you mean?
All right, so let's say, you know how when you talk to the entrance person for Eureka, it pops the instance that it queues you into.
Yep.
Yeah.
So instead of trading a pop item and spawning an NM in the overworld, you party up, you trade the item, and the item is what fires the duty queue.
Just like when you do diadem through the airship guy.
Right.
In,
okay.
Ishgard.
Yeah. And then that way you could, cap 30 or 40 people instead of having literally the whole zone training behind a single person. What about the idea that in order to get a specific, let's say, all right, anyone who wants can kill the popped item. You get XP and maybe these Animos crystals. But if you need the specific items such as the Pazuzu feather, you have to be trading an item.
Or how about this? Let's get really creative with it. There are mobs that use draw in, like Cerberus and the Crystal Tower. Why not take it all the way back to FF11 with the Sandworm and have one NM draw you into a fight with another NM? I mean, come on. These are ideas that have been used in MMOs for 10 years prior to this. Would you want that
to be like RNG, so that some people have to stay out and fight that NM, and you get maybe the lower level item, but the people that get sucked in get lucky and they get the higher level one?
Yeah. Just something that finds a way to break up the...
Bring that Zahox mail back.
Did you ever get that?
No, I mean, I bought it at some point.
Okay, all right. So you're not salty over it or anything like that. No. But just some way to break up the monotony of the NM train, because you're right, Anira. I don't think that in their head was what their grand design was. Maybe they had an idea that this is what it could devolve into, and they're like, that's okay for the first zone because we'll change how things operate. You don't
want to make it
later
too different
on.
out of the gate.
Yeah. I can. Okay, maybe. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think I can give them a bit of the benefit of the doubt. A little bit.
Dangerous words. Let's go back. By the way, thanks, Oaken, for the call. We appreciate it. Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Ursa Wintermane of Fairy. What's going on, Ursa?
Hi.
Hey, what's going on? Hello.
Just waiting until this show is over so I can finally go to sleep. To call in.
Well, thanks for calling.
Welcome.
Thanks for calling.
Where are you calling in from?
From Vegas, actually. I just met you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
We met out the. Yeah.
So you're going to bed at like 2:00?
Yeah. I quit my job a couple weeks ago, and my boyfriend that was with me when I met you guys, he works nights. So
oh, okay. All right. You sleep during the day then. All right. Cool.
He's actually asleep right now, and I'm
okay.
I can hear him getting angry.
Yeah, let's not wake him up, and let's talk about Eureka. So, anyway, go ahead, take it away.
So I have like 5 relics and like 2 full sets of armor, and at this point, I was level 20 a week ago. At this point, I don't really have anything else to do aside from like farm Animos crystals.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Eureka. I love the map. I really liked leveling up. Day 1 Eureka was so hard, and I really liked it. I'm pretty sure that my party that I was with my FC, spawned the very first Callisto spawn that anyone had ever seen, and the whole instance wiped almost twice, and now it's a face roll.
Yeah.
I like Eureka, and I understand that like as people get their drops, it's going to like become like, all right, well, like what do I do now? But I hate most of the people in Eureka.
Why?
I hate that people will bitch about having nothing to do while they choose to AFK in the train. Like, don't bitch about it being boring and having nothing to do if you were choosing to stand there. If you want something to do, that it's so much more freeing than the hallway dungeons. Like, I'm so sick of people telling me that there's nothing to do in Eureka when, like, you can do anything. You can level up in any way that you can pull off. You're just choosing not to. Like, people are creating the problems that they're having with Eureka by just standing there.
I agree, but it's also really hard to convince people to your way of thinking. Like, I've been in quite a few groups where they're like, okay, like one group I was in, we actually would follow the train, then we would hop off about 20 feet to the side and kill something near the train that wasn't actually the train mob to get XP. You can, but the thing is that so many
the train without AFKing there, and I like right now, like that's the only thing I do. The only thing I have left to do is either spawn Pazuzu and like do that, or sit on the train and help spawn NMs, because I don't have anything left to do. But I hate low-level people or people who haven't done everything there is to do, who are actively not doing anything and also complaining about it.
That's, I think, the key right there, Nika. It isn't just that they're sitting around, but that they're complaining about sitting around.
Yeah, but the thing is then is that it's a hive mind. So then there are those couple people that are complaining. They're like, I want to go kill NMs or kill like mobs in the interim. But then being able to convince 7 other people to go do that when they're like, but staying on the train is easier. It's really so hard to get that. So it becomes this vicious cycle of a hive mind. Sure. And so like there are a lot of people, every time I join a party, they're like, yeah, I wish we could go do some NMs, but you know, good luck convincing the entire instance of that.
Suspended for dragging mobs into AFKers. My boyfriend was like spawning Pazuzu the other day, and he was in a party with a guy who said that he just got off like a 4-day suspension or something for dragging mobs into people who were like slash cheering on the side. And
okay, you know what? If they're actually actively AFKing and staring at you as you're doing it, yeah, fuck those guys.
But okay, but to be fair, again,
this is so boring. I hate doing this. I'm gonna let everyone else do the like. If you can't help spawn the NM, go do something.
Okay, but
and then I've got later.
I've got two counterpoints to this though. One is that the mobs die so fast that by the time I get to them as a melee DPS, it's already dead. So really, standing on the side cheering is the best thing I can do at that point.
That's not the best thing you can do. That is definitely not the best thing you can do. You could be literally anywhere else in the zone farming mobs that are level appropriate that will give you experience.
Right, except that by the time I get back to where the train is, the NM's already dead. So if I wander too far away, I'm fucked. Secondly is that there are people in that middle level range, like level 10, who are like too high for like the lower level groups that aren't really doing much anyway, but then not high enough for the high level trains, and you just get stuck on the train and you go to these level 18 mobs and you can't even help because one step in front of them and it cleaves and you die. So then the best thing you can do, like I tell people when we go and fight Poly, because it's, you know, those things have the big the mono eyes have those big cleaves. I tell people if you're below level 13, just stand up top and cheer, because you are going to die the second you step down here. So like, but they're stuck on the train because no one wants to go party with them at lower levels. So that's again, I agree with you, but it's hard to.
No one, like, you can always find people to do basically anything. I was in I queued into Eureka the other day. It was a party that was mostly full of like my FC, and then we were all in a call, and they were trying to spawn Fafnir or Hazmat, one of those two, and there was a level 7 healer that was standing there and bitching in party chat about how Eureka was shit and how like they don't even know why they're here when they can get better gear. The gear isn't even better than the stuff they have already. And then I'm like, then why are you here?
Yeah, just get the fuck out then.
They were bitching so much, and I'm like sitting like next to my boyfriend, like watching him type in chat, like, then why are you here? Like, then go do something you can do. So I logged on and I hopped instances like 10 times until I got into the same instance as them, and then I shouted in shout chat at the healer like, hey, if you're bored, go do something else. And then they kicked that healer and I joined the party.
See, because
like that's what you get when you AFK and you don't want to do anything.
Yeah, Nika. See, because I was kind of in those shoes, and actually, Nero as well. When you and I partied that one night, a few Tuesdays ago, you know, you especially was severely underleveled. We went to like a level 9 or 12 Fate, and you were still level 3, and we spent the entire time dying, getting raised, trying to run it and get hit, dying and getting raised. I feel like if you're standing on the edge, cheering on as a low level person because you actually cannot participate without dying, that's different from someone who's sitting there shouting, this is boring, this is bullshit, I'm leeching XP, but it's fucking boring and bullshit and I want to do something else. Then do something else. Like
a while ago, when there were not many people that were level 20, we wanted to spawn Pazuzu, and I killed Pazuzu when I was 3k experience away from level 19.
Oh, I did that too. It
because
sucked.
he popped in. We just
felt so bad.
Get any XP. But then the second time I killed him, we spawned him, and we were looking for a party for wraiths, and it was really hard to find people that were even willing to go over there and do it, because everyone wants to kill Pazuzu and get the feathers, but fucking no one wants to spawn. No one wants to kill wraiths, and it's so frustrating. We had this white mage who the whole time, like, we had to farm wraiths over like 3 different nights because we were the only party there and the majority of us were not level 20. Like, the difference between tanking wraiths at 19 and 20 is huge.
Oh, it is a big difference. You know, it's hard to find tanks in general.
Yeah, we needed 3 healers on a level 19 tank, but I can solo heal a level 20 tank.
One of the things
that as an astrologer on a wraith.
Yeah, one of the things
this white mate was just bitching the whole time, and like, we had to go like farm void scales because it was daytime and we couldn't farm wraiths, and we're sitting there and like we're kind of bored, so we're just kind of like talking, waiting for wraiths to spawn again, and we're like, oh, like, what gear sets do you guys want to get? Oh, like this one. And like everything that we were saying, he's like, oh, that's shit. Oh no, that gear set looks like shit. Oh, this is bad. Why would I do this when I can go AFK and port? And I'm like, no one's keeping you here.
Yeah, so long story short, negative players suck, but this does illustrate one of the problems that I guess I didn't fully acknowledge the last time that we talked. You know, I mentioned that one of the reasons this is better than Diadem is the fact that in Diadem you could literally just sit there and wait for the emergency mission. There's no way to actually make it pop. It was random. At least in Eureka, you do have to go around and do stuff. You know, you actually feel like you're doing it. And someone in the chat last week had mentioned, well, you can actually still sit around and, you know, hold your dick in your hand and not do anything and wait for it.
That's your choice, though.
It is your choice, but I also think that I hope going forward into the next area that Square Enix finds a way to address that issue. So as she's saying right now, like basically people want to fight Pazuzu, but nobody wants to put in the effort. They just think, oh, well, eventually somebody will pop it, right?
Right, yeah.
And they can still benefit from it. And I hope that Square Enix finds a way to nip that in the bud.
I mean, as long as you're referring specifically to level 19 people, 19 or 20, because those are the only people that can get Pazuzu feathers. You have to be 19. And I feel like what I've seen is I've been in the trains and there's like a ton of level 18, 17 people who might be doing decent enough DPS on the race, but there's no point in that because when Pazuzu spawns, they're not going to get anything from it. So they would rather keep on the train and, level up on the chances that they will get to 19 before Pazuzu spawns.
All right, that's
so
fine.
Really, as long as you're 19 or 20, you really should be helping with the rates because especially if you're 20, I just don't feel like you really don't need the XP.
No.
So what does Square Enix need to do to try to get people off of the
AFK train?
The AFK train, because I feel like there's a couple of easy fixes that they could do, in terms of maybe boosting the output of XP for normal mob kills or proper level, like within level range. I don't know, like what did they actually do to the system to try to alleviate how much of a just mindless mob train this is?
There's two things that I think are kind of wrong with its formula. Like they introduced the Isle of Val as someplace that's supposed to have like the elements are in such disarray and blah blah blah, but yet it like methodically the weather changes like on the half hour or something, and people can see up until like, because the weathers are also shared amongst all instances. So then you get people that are like, oh yeah, we can look at this weather clock online and figure out that the next Gales is going to be like 4 hours from now in every single server. So like people know exactly when things are going to spawn. And also the fact that all the mob types are grouped together in the same spot. So Tellus always spawns in the same spot. Pazuzu always spawns in the same spot. And I think if the mobs like shifted around and like, hey, the rates are up somewhere on the fucking map, we've got to find them. Shit, let's go find them before nighttime's over. That would make this a little bit more exciting.
It would add another layer of complexity to it, make it a little bit more interesting.
Like the weather should change a little bit less methodically, and that the mobs should move around.
That still doesn't solve the problem of people who just sit around and wait for that NM to pop up on the map, and then they run up, or then they run up to. Obviously,
it would require a little more effort to spawn them, though, because you wouldn't know where the mobs were at any given time.
But people would still just
wait for the
one or two parties who are actively trying to make it spawn. I think that, and I don't know how you would do it, because again, I don't know what goes into any type of coding for what already exists in here, but I feel like there needs to be some type of system that knows, like, oh, this thing's, you've been fighting it for 5 minutes at half health. Anyone who shows up at this point maybe shouldn't get credit for helping fight it or something. Like there should be a window that closes.
But then what if you are someone who's on the other side of the map trying to spawn something and you don't get there till 50% because you're working on another mob?
I don't know. Maybe you would have to start creating parties and making priorities. What is it that you actually want to try and kill today? Because if you're on the other side of the map trying to spawn something else, then maybe you're not as interested in Pazuzu right now. I don't know.
Well, I think I do think part of the problem is that regardless of what level you're at, as long as you go up and tag an NM, you're getting XP off of it.
Yeah, but you're not getting full XP.
Right.
It's going to be way lower, and you do not get any crystals or lockboxes unless you're within one level of the fate.
Right. I understand that, but it just seems to be that makes it the easiest way to level up as well. There's
right. If there were other easier ways for, like, if you're way lower than the fate, it shouldn't be the most efficient way still.
Right.
Like, someone who's level 5 at a level 19 fate, they still shouldn't be getting more XP from that than they would be at doing something, lower level or grinding.
Right. Which would make, party composition of, what levels are in your party actually matter, instead of, okay, here's 3 level 19s, 2 level 20s, and a level 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that shit doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It would make more sense if you had, I do think that the level sync system is probably a good idea. You know, that way higher level folks can go help with lower level NMs, although there's less of a reason to do that. But I think that there needs to be some kind of, you know, even more punishing diminishing returns on the XP that you get if you're so far out of range of what that level NM is.
They could also look at the fact, because I thought that the way that the XP fell off when in a party, like you have to be fighting stuff that are what 3, 4, almost five levels higher than you.
Yeah.
Like when you're going up against something that you would think would be an even match, because it's, let's say you're 3 and it's 4 or 5, really not that much XP, and it does become a lot easier to just follow those trains. So maybe even making it so that leveling in groups is a bit more convenient, or at least
group XP bonus.
Equal. Yeah.
Like a group XP bonus, right? Where if everyone's getting, you know, the proper amount of XP, like you had said, like within 3, 4, 5 level range of what you're fighting, that there would be some kind of bonus XP that comes along with it.
You do get it up to like the 30%, but in some cases, I don't think it's enough. I feel like you have to take more risks in doing an XP party than you do following the NM train. And why would the thing with less risk give you more reward?
Right. Well, and I do really think that their NM system needs to play into some kind of tiered system where you have to participate in the lower tier to be able to pop the higher tier.
Wait. What if in order to get credit for the monster, let's say that you're fighting Wraiths, for example, right? So when you're fighting Wraiths and Pazuzu spawns, if you were fighting Wraiths within a certain area or a certain radius, you get afflicted with a certain buff that basically says, hey, you get credit now for creating this monster. You were helping. So now you get increased rewards, or if you don't have it, you get decreased XP and no drops.
It's not a bad idea.
And I know, Nika, you would say something, well, what about people on the side farming? Well, you can still go and get some rewards, but if it's the Pazuzu feathers you need specifically, then you should have been there
instead. With the end game boss ones. But the thing is with that one, too, is that you have to farm the Wraiths at nighttime, and Pazuzu only spawns during Gales. So it's possible that, like, the nighttime happens, you have to kill as many Wraiths as possible, then Gales doesn't spawn for 30 more minutes. Like, is it going to remember who was there farming the Wraiths, even though it's been 30 minutes?
I would assume that you had to be there when the spawn happens, but you're right. I think that type of,
because then why would you sit around for 30 minutes when there's nothing to kill?
No,
that would be stupid.
I agree. I think that in the case of Pazuzu, that those type of stringent things, like, it has to be nighttime, has to be Gales, is too finite, and it's not stuff that the players can affect. Like, by all means, make it hard, make it difficult, but in the end, I still think that players should be able to affect all of them, and however much work they want to put into spawning it, however quickly, should be on them.
But I mean, especially when you have like Gale's weather, it's sort of like when you had the Odin weather in Shroud, where it's just like a preconceived, okay, here's Odin, and I think that
not exactly, because if you don't kill enough Wraiths and then Gale spawns, Pazuzu won't spawn.
Okay, fair enough. But still, I think that Square Enix could be a little bit more creative with the way that the conditions under which these NMs spawn could happen, and make it a lot more. I do like having player agency in there as a part of it, but make it dependent on a little bit of both. That you need player agency and a little bit of luck to be able to get it.
That's fine too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the chat is throwing out maybe some of this possible solo content, some kind of leaves where it's like, if you can solo kill a certain amount of mobs, you get a crystal bonus yourself.
That would be cool. I'd be okay with that.
Those are good ideas. Or maybe even still, then you can have like one mob and it's different for everybody too. Like, you'll have one mob you kill specifically yourself, and maybe you can have one NM that's special just for you.
Yeah.
That like isn't necessarily as special for everyone else. So then you're going to want to create a party, whatever, with other people that have that mob to spawn that one or something.
I also think that they could get creative with instancing as well too. Now that you have this entirely separate, piece of content, that you could get really kind of creative with how you use instancing. By the way, thanks Ursa for the call. We appreciate it. If you want to call Limit Break Radio, we want to hear from you. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Astral Taka of Lamia. What's going on, Astral?
Yo, so everyone's talking about how to make Eureka more interesting PvE wise. What if we just added fucking PvP?
To Eureka?
Yeah,
well, what would the lore version of that be?
Factions all go in, and you can kill each other, take your relic progress, and your EXP.
Oh god, that would be horrible.
Different areas, and now get rid of the AFK leeches and make the normal monster trains way more easy. Way more interesting.
I kind of like this idea.
I mean, we were talking about a zone for PvP. I mean, maybe
this would make the PvPers way happy. We all fucking want open world PvP and shit like that. You know how many people would come to the game purely for that?
So just turn Eureka into RuneScape.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
It's a wild west.
I actually would be kind of into that idea because XP loss matters so much that
as long as you couldn't grief like level 1s as a level 20.
No, fuck that, Nika. Everyone dies.
Let's make a griefing zone. Thanks for the call. We appreciate it, Astral. We want to hear from you. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord.
Only being able to PvP the people whose AFK flag pops up.
Okay, there you go. You got AFK flag up. You are fair game.
There you go. I kind of like that. That's kind of cool. That's a much more creative way to eject somebody out of the instance than just, oh, you've been AFK for 10 minutes. Leave. Bye. Get the fuck out.
After 5 minutes, you just kill him.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, I like that idea. As like your entire party just gets madder and madder and madder at the one guy, and finally his flag goes up, and they just kill him out of the party. That is the greatest.
I do want to say though that because I feel like if the community, they're bitching about so many things, but if they have banded together over one thing, it's the fact that there is XP loss in here, and I actually love seeing the kindness of people who will go across the zone to raise someone so they don't have to eat an XP loss. Like that to me, I feel like shows a little bit of the community banding together for a common purpose than I've ever really seen before. Like people can shout for raises anywhere in the world and no one gives a shit. But you're like, man, this person's level 19, they're going to lose 25% of their bar. Like, I'm going to go fucking raise them. Or like you're on the way to a mob and like there's an NM up. People will still stop to raise you so that you don't miss the NM and that you don't lose the XP. Like that's something I really enjoy about that is like at least the people that aren't bitching are coming together.
It's actually really cool to see because, back in FF11, I think so when people think back to FF11, most people don't like the idea of experience decay. It's very archaic, and it's just kind of seems just weird that it's there just to have some random punishment for dying. But after playing a game now for what, like 3-4 years, where there's no sense of danger anywhere, like anywhere in the game, there's no danger in anything you do. Now that it's suddenly been injected in there, the amount of people in stream that is like, oh my god, it's so refreshing to see people worry and like actually feel like they're unsafe. It's like a whole new sensation that people are feeling that they don't even, I think, really care about the mechanic itself. They're just glad to be feeling something different.
Yeah. It disrupts gameplay. It disrupts the normal way that Final Fantasy XIV players are accustomed to doing content. And that's what I liked so much about it. That's what was appealing to me about it right off the rip. I do, it definitely has started to show some of the things that hold it back as well. But, I do think that as long as they continue to expand it and update it and try to find new ways to challenge the player base, that it's going to continue to be interesting, and the evolution of it is going to continue to be interesting. The other fact I like about it is that Square Enix, with all of their other content and rewards, put an artificial gate, which is a time barrier, which is, we've kind of all acknowledged that the reason that it's there is to keep people subscribed and to
keep like a tome cap.
Yeah, exactly, like the tome cap or
like the weekly lockout on raids.
Exactly, yeah. And this is a complete departure from that, where we heard from Ursa earlier in the call that there's a lot of people who have multiple sets of relic armor and weapons because they've
really
been doing this so much. It is.
No, but even still, I'm not even 20 yet. I'm 19. I'm almost to 20. I got my samurai sword today. I've completed my samurai set, and instantly I traded in enough crystals to get my paladin weapon. All I need is the Pazuzu feathers. Like, it's so easy to get relics in this. Like, it's almost kind of dumb.
But the thing is that you're not limited by time.
Correct.
And that's I think the big departure from content organization that Square Enix is used to, where they've set a strict structure on what you can get out of the game every week. And for the most part, that's been okay. It's been fairly reasonable, that 450 weekly cap. Not that many people have been complaining about it, but when you give people the ability to grind something out, a lot of people will take that opportunity and do it.
And I will say that does keep more people in the zone. Like, there are people who are like, I want to get sets for everything. Like, and people like me who are like, I like to level everything, having this progression bar, and then level all the things that I've leveled. I now can get a relevant gear set for. Like, for me, that's going to keep me going in even once I hit 20. Whereas if I really, if it had that lockout, I'd get my first set and I'd probably never go back.
Now, this is the same woman who first day was like, I can't even see a reason to come back
okay,
in
let me
here.
tell you.
I got my T-Rex mount. I'm done.
No, that's
I get
fair.
everything that I need.
That's fair. I still
talk like this, really high pitched and annoying sounding.
And that's fair criticism of me, but I still think it gets repetitive and boring. However, my logic to this relic is that I like the previous relics, like the final grind stages were literally fight Alexander 1 or fight Garuda over and over and over and over and over and over and over, until you die. Whereas at least as repetitive as this is, it is different. It is not as repetitive because it's not the same exact circle boss over and over again. And it actually lets me do stuff with other people, which I find refreshing. Which I've been saying since the beginning.
The event itself, in the action of doing it, is repetitive, but it stands at such a stark contrast with everything else, which is either a hallway or a circle arena that leads to more hallways. That's the part that is refreshing and feels like a departure from the rest of the game. And so, and again, this is something that Square Enix was very good at doing with Final Fantasy XI, where assaults and salvage and Limbus and C they all felt very distinct from one another, and you were playing the same game across all of these different events, but you had different and unique goals for each one of them, and it took time to learn, and it took time to understand what was happening at every level in each one of those different events. And that's what I want to see Square Enix continue to do as they try to develop more and broad systems like this outside of just, hey, what's the next phase of Eureka? This was very good in that it gave us a very different set of goals and ways to achieve them from what we're normally used to.
Well, look at how the XP decay affects something as simple as going from point A to B, right? Because that's something, no matter what you do, that's a mechanic that's always going to be there, whether you're in a dungeon going from first boss to second boss, or you're trying to get from one NM to the other NM. When you're going from boss to boss in a dungeon, you completely zone out, you fall asleep. It's so boring because it's a predetermined path you've probably been down a million times, and if by some weird chance you die, your party will finish it off and you'll teleport to where they are, still asleep. Whereas in here, you are alert, you are watching every corner, you are freaking out that some mind flayer is going to turn around and see you and take away a quarter of your XP. And when you finally get to where you're going, you feel a sense of relief and accomplishment just for going from point A to B.
You know what else I hope that they do? I hope that in order to get to the second area of Eureka, that first you've got to go into Animos, and that to even queue for the second instance, you have to do that from an NPC in Animos, right? Like it's somewhere, like let's say that the
equivalent of going into the Sanctuary of Zeta, running to Romave, running through Romave just to get up into Sky, and then sneaking your way through Sky to where you need to be.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, just Crag teleport.
But I mean, or have that ability to be able to queue straight into the instance, something that you earn from doing more of like the second one,
like the Crag teleport.
Yes, exactly. Right, like you ease that as players earn it, and it doesn't need to be unreasonable. What like 5 levels in now,
level 27.
Yeah, now you can queue straight in, right? Like I think that would be a really good idea, and it would keep some people at least in Animos, or at least moving through Animos to be able to get to the next stage. And it would connect the areas in a way that would feel a little bit more meaningful and natural and purposeful than just, oh hey, queue straight into the second one, and nobody's gonna ever queue for the first one anymore.
Which is again one of my biggest fears is going forward is how are people late to the game going to, what are they going to see? How is this going to exist in a few months from now? There are a few hot fixes they mentioned too. The first ones are going to be coming here at the end of the March. They'll include improvements to the gameplay and adjustments to the lockboxes. And they have another set coming that will include adjustments to identifying the Animos crystals, making it easier to turn them into inferior crystals. I'm not sure, because isn't it like random where if you turn an Animos, it's like it turns into 1 to 5?
Yeah.
Maybe they plan on changing the way that works.
Right now, you can only do 1 at a time.
1 at a time. That's what I was thinking. Is
people have like 2,000 of these things and they do it 1 at a time.
It is a pain in the dick to do it that way. Yeah. So I think that doing multiples in one go was probably.
Oh my gosh, catering to casuals again. Steps of faith.
So this next part that I actually wanted to read here is just because it's more for you, Nate. This harkens back to an FF11 Dark Knight thing.
Okay.
I guess people were asking if they would implement the Death Scythe into Animos somewhere.
Why would they?
Well, probably just as like wait, actually, they've already had a Scythe Glamour, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess they wouldn't even necessarily need to do that, but
cash out.
Yeah, cash shot. But they said they would not be doing it. They may do the Black Kota Harde, which is a body piece that comes off of Capricious Cassie, but they also pointed out that Capricious Cassie is already in the game as a fate somewhere.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But they were making fun of, because the reason they asked it was Death Scythe Hayashi, which is, I guess, the current lead item designer's nickname, because he was the one
that's right.
who created that. Yeah, they sell. People still remember
11, like the OP scythe.
Yeah, people still remember him and his sins as the man who developed an overpowered scythe.
Yes.
Lols.
As a regular NQ crafted item. Like, it was super easy to get.
The Japanese never forget.
They don't. So then there's also some other information that they gleaned from the stream that isn't related to Eureka. Hayashi mentioned that there are some secrets regarding minions that people still haven't, I guess, confirmed yet, such as some of the scions will interact directly with each other. Thancred, for example, will creep on Minfilia and move closer. The Calcabrenna minion dolls only dance when the other twin is summoned, and they won't dance with other minions.
We figured that one out.
And apparently the Ultros minion shows different reactions when poked by a male or a female character.
Ultros has always been skeevy with the female characters, so
that makes sense.
Tentacles.
This one I thought was important. People in the comments were worried that Yoshi P would leave the FF14 team because of his recent promotion to executive officer. We talked about this on our show when it was first announced. But he told the company that he would only receive that offer if he was still allowed to work on FF14, and they did accept that condition. They also noted that Yoshi P has climbed up from a new Square Enix employee to his current position in only 10 years. Normally something like that either would never happen or would take 30 or more years to do.
That's pretty impressive.
Man.
Apparently you can see your underwear during the Byaku falling phase.
I have never noticed that.
When you're like falling and you're like,
from the sky, like Mario Party
mode.
mode.
Okay, apparently that wasn't intended, But they thought it was funny that everybody on Twitter was talking about that of all
instead of the fight itself.
Yoshi P also mentioned that a lot of the dev members, they leave the company, or I assume they mean the workplace, as soon as their work is done for the day so they can go home and play Eureka. But Yoshi P himself is actually refraining from playing it because he feels guilty for the rollback issues that occurred after the release.
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
If anything, he should play it more to make sure there's no more shit like that.
He's punishing himself.
Yeah, but punishing himself like, oh man, I can't get this subpar gear. Like, what a punishment. Like, he should be like, I need to go in there and make sure that there's no more things that are going to happen like this. I can go in and see that people are just face bashing in the train so that I understand how it feels and can create a better system next time. And instead, he's not experiencing firsthand the NM train and doesn't understand like what needs to be improved in the next one. So now that actually worries me more than I'm like, oh, what a good guy.
Yoshi doesn't actually play this game.
He does. He has his character that is public, and then he has his private character,
which we found out through this
World
stream.
of Warcraft.
Found out on the stream that his private character is actually an aura. And Death Scythe Hayashi used to work at a circus.
Really?
Yeah. One of the viewers said Yoshi P's Lala is ugly, and he was hurt by that comment. But Death Scythe Hayashi agreed to it, and Yoshi P said, "I will kill you."
That's awesome. I love it.
The Prince Penguin minion, the thing that comes from the Lords of Verminion tournament, apparently the way that it moves around sometimes is by sliding on its belly, and that kind of makes me want it now.
Oh, stop it.
A little bit. I don't know.
Okay, well, it's pretty easy to get.
Maybe.
Lords of Verminion tournament.
Yeah, nobody does that, so
yeah.
Top 10 easy.
Let's see. The next ultimate fight we will learn of during the next live letter, so there's something to look forward to. Do we want to take quick predictions on what we think the next ultimate fight's going to be?
New content or old content?
Well, let's look, because the last one was Alexander, and it made the ultimate coil of Bahamut. This is going to be, we're doing Omega, and it's going to be Ultimate Alexander. Let's be real.
No, Nika. No, because see, first of all, they said that all content is open to ultimate modes. In fact, they almost did Titan as the first ultimate fight. So no, I don't necessarily think they're going to go in some type of pattern. I think that they will probably choose something that is more iconic or more important to FF14.
I'm thinking, because with what they did with having to fight multiple enemies, I see an ultimate Ultima on the horizon, where you've got, souped up versions of each one of the elemental fights, and then after that you've got to fight Ultimate Ultima.
That would be an easier one to do, because you already have sort of a basis on the fact that you see the what the fuck are they called?
Primals?
Primals, yes. You see the primals. You see the primals in the fight themselves. So can we double up on answers, or do I have to make my own prediction?
I got my own prediction. I'm going to wait until all you guys are done.
All right.
Mine's the best.
You know what? I think that is pretty likely, but I'm going to say I want to see a Gilgamesh Ultimate.
Oh, damn.
Wait,
I would love that.
Is that what you were going to say?
Kind of.
Yeah.
The fact is, though, that he's only been available through Hildebrand, and I just don't think they would put him in outside of that lore.
Well, we'll see, won't we?
I like the suggestion in the chat. Ozma would make for a good ultimate fight, which is something
that would be awesome.
Yeah, they've even actually said that they had intentions of doing an ultimate Ozma fight at the last Fan Fest. So I could see that. I could actually see that working out.
I could see that too.
Yeah,
I like that. Good job, chat.
Yeah.
My guess is going to be a fight with Ultros and Gilgamesh and Enkidu and Typhoon.
Oh, jeez. Can they add one more person in there, too? We just need one new person. Like, who's the ultimate person?
Godbert. Yeah.
The Godbert ultimate
fight. Yeah.
Who's a stupid villain that would...
Gilgamesh is that villain.
Xenos.
Siegfried.
Not Xenos.
From Final Fantasy VI. You guys don't even know who that is, do you?
Nate should, right?
I'm just staring at you.
Because it's so brilliant?
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's perfect.
No.
Also, apparently, Teru, who is Glay, he was in charge of the theme song for Daddy of Light, invited Yoshi P to his raid static, but told everyone on Twitter that he wasn't supposed to do that.
What he told is that he promised them Yoshi P wouldn't use any dev power.
Oh, okay.
Which means that Yoshi P can't just go on his server and use dev powers to become max level.
Right.
He has to level.
I see. So yeah, Yoshi P has to level another character from scratch, and so they won't be raiding until 4.5.
Because he's like, yeah, Yoshi's gonna join my raid static, and he's not gonna use dev powers. Look at that, guys.
Wow. Does he have time for that? Jesus. Voiceovers are apparently recorded 9 months before the actual release.
That was the guy from Glay who.
The guy from Glay was in charge of the theme song of Daddy.
Oh, okay, yeah. I
see. The yodeling guy. That'd be the yodel guy.
Oh my god. Oh my god, I had forgotten about that. Thank you. Thank you for that. Also, for anyone still doing Sigmascape, apparently if you take Kefka to the north and keep him there, you can bait his teleport to the south.
Like, does that count in Savage mode too?
Probably. Yeah, probably. And lastly, they said the next live letter will be for patch 4.3 preview part 1, and his guest will be FoxClon, and as the global community producer, he will be talking about the behind-the-scenes stuff regarding the community team, not the dev team.
Ooh, buddy.
I don't care about that, though.
No one cares about the community team.
I think I would care enough.
Listen to our shows.
Yeah,
Shannon and Arya, Ava. I don't know the other one's name. I'm sorry.
I think that's a good enough idea
our
for
our listenership is somewhere above fucking whatever show they put on.
I think
Duty commence.
Yeah, because they're commencing a duty.
Behind the scenes of a community team sounds like a good idea for a FanFest panel, not necessarily for a preview of a patch.
Yeah, so if this is hold on. If we're getting it's a part.
It just sounds boring. Just say it, Nika. It sounds trivial and boring.
I mean, no, not necessarily.
Yes, necessarily.
It depends on what the content of it would be, but again, that would be something I would like to listen to while I'm like waiting in the merch line, rather than hoping for new information about the next patch. Like they just don't connect. They said the next live letter is going to be 4.3 part 1, but it's not going to talk about 4.3 at all.
Well, no, we don't know that. All he's saying is that his guest is FoxClon, and part of the reason is because of behind the scenes stuff. But here's my question. All right, so if it's going to be part 1 of a preview, we're probably not going to learn anything about the next Eureka because they're saving that for the half patch, right? That'll be its own preview some other time. So what exactly do you guys see us getting to preview?
Main scenario quest?
The next Evilise.
Obviously.
Next Evilise.
Okay, the next Evilise.
That's part 2. That's part 2.
I actually forgot about that we're getting the next Evilise.
You don't think that'll be until... You think they would release an entire raid along with Eureka in...
No, that's just a preview.
No, I think it's... Yeah, the next
part
preview.
2.
They might not talk about it till part 2, but they'll definitely release Evilise, the second one, in 4.3 and then 4.3.
Right.
They're also going to talk about new swimming and diving areas they're adding.
Shut up.
No, they will. I already was mad I couldn't swim in the water.
What?
They should add.
Oh my god.
Nika,
you're the reason.
This is your fault.
This is your fault.
You are terrible. You are a terrible person.
You're fired.
Are we supposed to get... We'll get only one dungeon this next patch, right? Because we just
we got 2 in the last one, so we'll see that.
Yeah, Hell's Lid and Fractal Hard Mode.
Yeah. So this time we're going to get one, because we're going to get MSQ, so it's going to be something to go with that probably.
Hell's Lid was this patch?
Will we get...
Yeah, it was.
Hell's Lid led into Byakko.
Oh, that's right.
Will we get the next trial with Siryu or Suzaku?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely... We're definitely
you think? That. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do they usually release trials every patch?
Yes.
Or every other?
Every patch.
Every patch.
Every patch.
I feel like that would run out too quickly, because then we'd get, let's say, Suzaku for 0.345. Okay, yeah, nope, that would work. That would work out. Yeah.
If they do one more and then they've got the last one, yeah.
Numbers are adding up. Quick maths.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nika's a double agent. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah,
it means you're batting for Yoshi P and his stupid swimming and diving bullshit.
You know, Yoshi P, we actually just had an entire episode where we talked about how much we like your new content and how much potential there is for it. And I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, and then you got to go and add more stupid shit like fucking swimming. Nobody gives a shit about that. No one.
You should add it so that we can synchronize our swimming in the group.
Shut up. Nika.
So we can take photos.
Nika. Why?
I will literally
are you doing this?
Pay Senpai to throw boiling water on you.
So it looks like
we should have a furnishing where we can swim in it.
I think that I think that we may actually get out of Stormblood without any Blitzball. When would they add Blitzball?
But the thing is, because of diving, this is the perfect time to add Blitzball.
Nope. I don't think we're getting Blitzball.
No. Hold on.
So much
what's our throwaway event? Like, what's the Lords of Verminion of Stormblood then?
It's got to be Blitzball.
No, I mean, is it possible that Square Enix maybe learned
Glamour
to
report.
Not waste their fucking time?
Oh, the Glamour report. All right, that's fair. Yeah.
But the Glamour report is worth doing.
It's actually well, wait, the Glamour report.
You get some like glamour
fashion report.
What the fuck is that?
That's the one where you go up to an NPC in Gold Saucer and they give you
fuck off.
a vague description.
No,
yeah,
no, dumb.
Oh, dude, I do it.
Stupid.
I do it all the
thought
time.
you were talking about
I got 100% this last time. It was awesome.
Shut
and you get
up.
You get an achievement for it. You get furnishings and glamour that's unique to Fashion Report.
Nika,
and you get,
the intelligent people are talking.
If you get 80 points every week, you get 50,000 MGP. It's awesome.
Nika, all right, serious question for you. Serious question. When literally everyone here is telling you to shut up because they don't want to hear what you're saying, why do you keep talking about
Because I'm trying to convince you it's good content.
No!
You're not doing a very good job of that.
It's worth the MGP and the story.
It's not
story. I'm sorry. Did you just say story? Did you just? Oh, end of story. Okay.
I didn't say and story. I said end of story. There's no story in Fashion Report.
I was about to go nuclear on you.
No. There's no story involved in it whatsoever.
Wow. No, but the glamour commodes were pretty. That was a pretty decent addition.
I haven't even used it.
Really?
Yeah, because you only get 10 glamour plates.
Do you have to unlock it?
Don't think so. You just walk into your room and it's there.
And it's there? Okay, because I haven't done anything with it at all. I haven't even touched my chocobo saddlebags.
Really? I put all my crafting materials into that.
I haven't done that.
I hate having to go through an extra window to get there. It's starting to feel more like FF11 and not in the good way.
I don't like how people aren't talking about how when they updated the inventory windows, that it just fucked everything up for the large view.
It did.
Oh, I hate that so much.
Nobody is talking about that anymore. Yoshi P, we need to fix this right after we get male cat girl or male bunny suits.
That's never happening.
It's never happening.
But Yoshi P promised
You know what else he promised? Blitzball. Where's that at?
He did not promise that. He said he would consider it because he.
Oh, okay. Then that'll probably come before the bunny
They're
suits.
still stumped on whether or not they want to have it be 1v1 or team v team.
You better be team v team. Why would it be 1v1?
Make it be more like you control your team. Oh, I mean, in terms of how many people are playing, how many real people.
Oh, I would love
control one person, and you have 8 people playing versus 8 people, or if it's just
They should
one
have both
person
modes
versus
where you get to control.
oh my god, Nika, they can't even do one. You can't have both.
Sure, they can.
No, you can't, Nika.
People don't even log in to do the actual dungeon content. You think people are going to log in to do 8v8 Blitzball?
Oh, you know what we might get in 4.3 is an expansion to which dungeons the friggin' NPC.
Nobody gives a shit about that. Oh,
yeah, that's why they're going to do it because no one.
What is he talking about?
Squadrons.
Squadron. That's what it was.
When's Deep Dungeon coming?
Never.
Tall dungeon.
It's got to be. I think it's
tall tower.
It's going to be 4.4 or something.
When's tall tower come out?
Hang on. So our next patch is 4.3.
Yep.
So I think maybe 4.35. Maybe
that's when we're getting
be
Animos.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah, sorry, Eureka.
It's going to be on a main patch because we're getting the EVE release this time. I think it's going to release alongside the raid in the next patch. Maybe.
Why would they release it alongside it? It's a whole nother update they can tout.
Or maybe it would be the next one because, like we were saying before, it's kind of the catch-up mechanic. So they might push it even later than that.
What? How would you even put that as a reward? What? How the weapon that you got out of the first Palace of the Dead?
Yeah,
those are so cool.
I mean, they looked good. They were a good glamour piece, but they were they ever really?
They were relevant for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They were relevant for people who hadn't beat the raid already.
No, they were relevant for 2 weeks, and then the new tome gear dropped.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
No, not even the new tome gear. They unlocked it so that you could get multiple of the items, right, the gears, in order to get your tome weapon quicker.
Right. So, I mean, if they even did Palace of the Dead, would they have to...
It would just be a leveling mechanic.
You think it would just be leveling?
Yeah, basically.
At this point,
and like some bragging rights.
I think there will
put
be
another
some
bench
stuff.
in there.
I think there will be some stuff, but it won't be gear and weapon because I feel like with how accessible Eureka is, that would be silly. So it would the rewards wouldn't be as
no. You know what they might do, because what that weapon could be is you wouldn't make it as powerful as whatever the current final step of the relic is, but
it's
for anyone for anyone who doesn't want to do the relic but needs a step up in that direction, they would still get it.
All right. So yeah, so for maybe someone who missed Eureka Animos.
Yeah.
Okay, I get you.
But there's so many people in Eureka. I just feel like that would mean that the people that would want to do it for the reward would be so small.
Yeah, but I mean, most people
would have to be other rewards.
But most people did the first Palace of the Dead for leveling anyway.
For the XP.
Yep. You know what I think they should do, since this is... Oh, damn, no, it wouldn't be Palace of the Dead. That's why it's going to be something different. But I think that they should put, instead of, like, because remember, they just had the fucking bench at the bottom of the original one, right? I think that they should put something that's more lore related or lore implicated at the top that really makes people want to be like, I need to get a screenshot next to that. Like, for example, had they put a undead Haurchefant at the bottom of Palace of the Dead, the amount of people that would want to get to floor 200 for that would have been astronomical.
They need to move Haurchefant's tombstone and put it at the top of Tall Tower.
Let's do that. Somebody go get it back. Oh, we're digging that bitch up.
You know, that is something that I liked about Palace of the Dead, is that you would be able to see random NPCs that died during the storyline, even some from 1.0 that had been thought MIA. You could find them in Palace of the Dead.
I know who's up there. Lady Iceheart. Just full of bullet holes.
Stop.
She is stopped. She's stopped for a very long time.
By this point, she's decomposed, so it would just be like a skeleton with her clothes filled with bullet holes, right?
Okay, that's fair.
All right,
No, but
cool.
she died as
And
Shiva.
maggots.
You don't think she turned back into Lady
Right, but her
Iceheart?
clothes wouldn't be bulleted up because she didn't get shot with her clothes.
Nika, shut up.
Well, you've got a good point there, Nico. You do need to shut up.
Point there.
That's a perfect point. You need to shut up.
But yeah, it isn't going to be Palace of the Dead. It's going to be
Tall Tower.
Tall Tower. That's what it's called. Tall Tower.
Is that actually from an FF? Like, I could see like an FF2 they had a tall tower.
No, I don't.
There is one.
I don't think so.
It's in Final Fantasy 10-2.
I've played 10-2. There's no tall tower.
Nobody's played that game.
There's that 100 floor thing that was Bevel, but that was it. But that was underneath. That was like going down to the basement.
It's in Final Fantasy Mystical Quest, which nobody has ever played.
Actually,
you've never played that.
I have it. I played 10 minutes of it.
Oh my god, it's a Mirage Tower. It's perfect.
And if I try to search Tall Tower Final Fantasy, I just get the Castle Mark Tower in 15, which is not the same thing. It is Tall Tower, but there is no Tall Tower in Final Fantasy.
So, answer would be no then.
What does Google know?
All right. I think that's going to be it for Limit Break Radio today. I want to thank all of our callers, Astral, Ursa, Oaken, and Satori. Thank you guys for calling in. We appreciate hearing from you. Good talk about Eureka. I think that, as long as Square Enix keeps up on updating it and doesn't,
Stay tuned after Limit Break Radio for the Rogues Den Eureka featuring Rallo Randus #praise Juxta.
Rallo Randus.
It sounds like Scooby-Doo trying to say her name.
That is Scooby.
Anyway, but yeah, that's going to be it for Limit Break Radio today. Thank you to all of our callers. LimitBreakRadio.com is the website, and visit that for old episodes, a full archive of the show, and subscribe to the podcast so that you can get the latest episodes delivered to your phone, your mobile device, or your desktop each and every single week. You can do that at Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and wherever you download your podcasts. Thanks, guys, for tuning in today. It's been an interesting discussion. Hopefully, Eureka definitely ends up panning out. Stay tuned, by the way, because coming up next here on twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio, we're going to play our show that we recorded out from the opening of the Allied Esports Arena in Las Vegas. It was
amazing.
It was a really fun time. We had a really great time. We got to talk to Judd Hannigan as well as some other CEOs out there, and we invite you to stick around. That's going to be live for you here coming up next at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. That's going to be it for Limit Break Radio this week. I want to thank my crew, Nika Kyanian, Juxtaposition, and Kahlo Landis. I'm an hero. Keep listening. Limit Break Radio is a production of Limit Break Radio and Bender Media Productions. This episode was produced by Kahlo Landis, Juxtaposition, and Kooky Persona. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. Funding for Limit Break Radio is provided by Miri Kennett, Nexian Theta, Hirsch Fersch, and fellow Limit Break Radio listeners. To support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Opening music from this episode from Daniel Lambie. Listen to Man with the Machine Gun and other great tracks at facebook.com/Daniel Lambie Metal Gamer. Closing music in this episode provided by Husky by the Geek. Listen to this and other great Final Fantasy XIV and video game rock covers and original music at facebook.com/Husky by the Geek. In-game graphics for Limit Break Radio's Twitch stream are provided by Diamond Multimedia. Check out their line of AMD graphics cards and other hardware at diamondmm.com. Limit Break Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to episode 152 of Limit